Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and folk of all ages, you know what time it is. It is a brand new month, so it's time to go over the holidays, holy days, and days of remembrance for the month of July. And that starts today. Friday, July 4th, is our day of remembrance for Sigrblót, Beinteinsson. We follow that up on July the 15th with our day of remembrance for Alexander Rud Mills. And on July 19th, the observance day for Sigrblót. What are these days? Who are these men? We'll tell you about it. And let's get down to it. We start now. Today, Friday, July 4th, we hold the Day of Remembrance for Asatru Sigrblót Beinteinsson. Born July 4th, 1924, passed away December 23rd, 1993. Asatru Sigrblót Beinteinsson entered Midgardr on July 4th, 1924. He is known for reviving Asatru in Iceland, having the Aesir be recognized by the Icelandic government, and forming the Asatru Félagið for that purpose. While his organization is no longer what he created it to be, his work in the early reforging of Asatru is forever honored by the Asatru Folk Assembly. Sigrblót lived his entire life in western Iceland, with much of his early adulthood spent as a poet and sheep farmer. He was also married and sired two sons with his wife, Svanfríður, in the 1960s. The winter of 1972 saw the beginnings of Sigrblót's greatest deeds, as he and three friends would meet in the Reykjavik cafe to discuss Asatru. They quickly decided that the faith of their ancestors was one to be practiced as a community, as one folk, and began their work to make this a reality. These four men were the earliest leading figures of the Asatru Félagið: Asatru Sigrblót, future Asatru Jormundur Ingi Hansson, Goti Thorstein Gudjonsson, and Theosophist Dagger Thorleifsson. Sigrblót described the revival of Icelandic Asatru as the desire that Icelanders could have their own faith and nourish it in no less than imported religions. Dagger emphasized the return to nature and a rejection of the negatives of industrial civilization. The Asatru Félagið was officially formed on the first day of summer in 1972, with Sigrblót very soon after being named Asatru. Just before Jól 1972, Asatru Sigrblót and Goti Thorstein sought official government recognition for our faith. They visited Olafur Jóhannesson, the Icelandic Minister of Justice and Ecclesiastical Affairs. He initially thought the two Gothar were joking about their request, but then asked for paperwork to be filled out when he realized that they were serious. Shortly after Sigrblót and Thorstein exited the building, the power in the center of town went out due to a large and sudden thunderstorm, showing that the Lord Thor himself gave his stamp of approval. Many Christian Icelanders at the time even viewed this as a sign. The Bishop of Iceland and others recommended denying the request for recognition, as the faith was and is folkish in nature. After another 5 months or so of discussion and paperwork, the Asatru Félagið was officially recognized by the government of Iceland as a religious organization in May of 1973. This gave them the rights of any other church: marriage, share of the church tax, etc., which they still hold to this day. On August 5th of 1973, Asatru Sigrblót led the first public blót in nearly 1,000 years. The rite took place at his farm in heavy rain under the statue of Lord Thor, who had intervened on their behalf 8 months earlier. A local newspaper described the Blot as vigorous and energetic. Asatru Sveinbjorn held his title until his death around Yule of 1993. He lived a simple but happy life on his farm without many luxuries. He was an author and poet, having published 8 different written works and 3 different musical recordings. He was said to be soft-spoken and even a bit shy, but his thunderous impact on our native faith more than made up for this. Despite standing nearly alone in his mission to re-establish Icelandic loyalty to the Aesir, he never wavered or compromised in his duty to gods and folk. His resolve was so mighty that even Lord Thor himself intervened to sway the minister's decision to recognize the Asatru Arfelagith. Hail, Asatru Sveinbjorn Beinteinsson. And following that, a little later in the month on July 15th, it's our day of remembrance for Alexander Rud Mills. Born July 15th, 1885, passed away April 8th, 1964. Born in Tasmania, Australia, Alexander Rud Mills was a barrister, author, and early proponent for the revival of our ancestral faith. The Asatru Folk Assembly honors him with a day of remembrance every year on the 15th of July, and Thorshof holds a shrine in his name. While there is not a great deal of knowledge on his early life, we do know that Mills attempted to serve in the Australian Armed Forces in World War I, but was rejected on medical grounds. Regardless of this rejection, he devoted his life to serving our folk and honoring our gods by establishing the Anglican Church of Odin. Alexander Rud Mills was something of an outlier amongst our folk heroes, as he was one of the first people to embrace what we call forward-facing Asatru. He established a real church with hymns, vigils, virtues, and communion, and with an authentic English flavor reminiscent of the faith of his Anglo-Saxon ancestors. On May 7, 1942, he was placed in an internment camp for his folkish beliefs due to the political climate of the Second World War. He was interned until December of the same year. While many men would crumble and hide after something like this, the hero of Thorshof did no such thing. After his release, he immediately returned to sharing his love for the Aesir, publishing numerous works honoring our gods and folk. He was so devoted that he did not marry until the age of 65. Alexander Rud Mills passed away on April 8, 1964, just 13 years after he married. His loving wife, Evelyn, passed away 9 years later and was laid to rest next to her husband in the Church of England cemetery. Although Mills left this world over 60 years ago, his legacy is stronger than ever. His portrait, as well as an original print of his book, Hail Odin, have been immortalized and enshrined inside the Veg of our very own Thorshof. This shrine sits mere feet away from the mural of Lord Thor that our members worship at on a regular basis in a real Hof dedicated to one of the gods that Mills devoted his life to. He may have been forgotten by many of his folk in his time, but the Asatru Folk Assembly honors and remembers this hero. Hail, Alexander Rud Mills, hero of Thorshof. And the last holy day for the month of July, Sigrblót, we observe on July 19th. Sigrblót literally means victory blot, and was celebrated by our ancestors in the early summer months. On the one hand, our ancestors were celebrating their victory over the harsh winter. Life had won. On the other hand, our ancestors performed a blot to ask for victory. With the warm weather and the completion of the planting time, the men often turned their minds to the duty of man, war. Practically speaking, summer was the better time to organize new campaigns and set sail. In our modern times, the vast majority of us are not familiar with war in a personal way. We do, however, all have our struggles. Sigrblót is a time to refocus. It is a time we can use to reorganize our priorities, to figure out the steps we need to take in order to reach our ultimate goals, and to break free from those that we struggle with. One great way to celebrate Sigrblót is to offer a meal or some other item that you spent time making in thanks for the victory of life. Another option is to sacrifice a bladed weapon to the fire. A nice knife, for example. The blade dulled in battle so that it cannot be used against you. This is symbolic, of course. Offered to the fire is a great way to ask our gods for victory during the coming winter. A gift for a gift. Hail Tyr! Hail victory! And with that, we know a bit more about what we have going on in July. But that's not all that's happening in July. You guys know I couldn't leave you out. Sigrblót at Sigrheim, national event here in Tennessee. Come visit me. This is going to be an amazing time at the AFA property in Jackson County. Come on out. You can get your tickets. The link, runestone.org/store. Come see myself, Asatru, Matt, Witten Svan, Witten Daniel, Gothi Bodie Mayo, Gothi Trent East, and others in leadership. Join with your members. Come camping, stay at a hotel, Airbnb, whatever you'd like. Come for the blots, the sumble, the meals, the camaraderie. And come celebrate victory at the home of victory, Sigrheim. And following that, in August, it's right around the corner, Freyfaxi at Baldershof. Get on out. It's going to be a great time. You're going to enjoy yourself. I've been there multiple times for Freyfaxi. It's wonderful. The people, the Hof, go on her Balder, on her Freyr, and have a great time. And with that, I thank you guys so much for listening in, learning a bit, and I'll see y'all around, okay? Hail Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson. Hail Alexander Rud Mills. Hail Tyr. Hail the Aesir. Hail the folk. Hail the AFA. Hail victory, y'all. Have a great one.